Hare Krishna. Today I'm going to present a talk presentation on feelings of separation, that is separation from the Lord, and presentation one, separation from the Lord. So, as Srila Prabhupada, spiritual separation is different from the material separation, and Srila Prabhupada has in his teachings, in his book Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, he writes that pure love on the transcendental platform is the paragon of purity, devoid of material affection, and is completely spiritual. The feelings of separation that the devotees experience when they're away from the Lord reflect the deep love and affection of the Lord and their utter dependence on Him. Just like a helpless child is dependent on his her mother. Similarly, the Lord's devotees are fully dependent on the Lord's mercy, His care and attention, His deep love, and that love that Rati is, that deep attachment with the devotees have, they are much more augmented or reflected when there is apparent separation of the devotee from the Lord. And as Srila Prabhupada further explains that the pleasure of union after long separation makes the devotees feel as if their lives have returned back. Even anticipation of separation or meeting with the Lord churns deep feelings of affection in the hearts of devotees. So, when this viraha, the vipralamba, then the separation, the feeling of separation, actually that pleasure of union after a long separation, after viraha, period of viraha, devotees feel that now like they were dead all this you know for so much time, and now since the Lord has come back and they have united with the Lord, they have as if their lives have returned back. So it gets much more enhanced, and then the devotees realize the importance of uh, love in separation of the Lord, meditating on the Lord's pastimes on his lotus feet. Even anticipation of separation or meeting with the Lord churns deep feelings of affection in the hearts of devotees. So the feeling which is there in the material world of meeting our loved ones, our dear and near ones, uh, like a lover, a couple who's in deep love with each other, a boy and a girl, they are anticipating that they are staying away from each other in different countries, and they are anticipating that very soon they are going to unite. So that feeling of union which is there because uh, anticipation of that kind of union, because they are in separation, and since they are in separation, that that hope of getting united with the lover gives them, the paramour gives them that 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 uh, hope, that that anticipation that one day they are going to meet each other, and then that long period of separation is going to end. So that same kind of, I would say, that perverted feeling which is there in the material world, the original uh, transcendental feeling which is there of separation of the devotees from the Lord, or the Lord from the devotees. Just like Krishna was feeling separation from the gopis when he was in Mathura and Dwarka. It's not that only the Brajvasis like Srimati Radharani and the gopis and the Gopa friends and Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai. Not just that they were feeling, but even Lord Krishna was feeling that separation. And when then there is this anticipation, that hope of meeting with the Lord, that gives rise to such deep feelings of affection in the hearts of devotees. So various instances are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam can be categorized in three sections. First is separation from the Lord. We'll first take up this part of the presentation. And then there is meeting the Lord after separation. Firstly, what is happening in the separation from the Lord? What are the state of mind of those devotees who are separated from the Lord? And second one is meeting the Lord. Excuse me, meeting the Lord after separation. What happens when they meet the Lord? What kind of feelings, emotions arise? And then anticipating separation from the Lord. How, when the Lord is present with them, they are with the Lord, but anticipating that, oh, my Lord is going to leave us or leave me. What I'm going to do after that? That section is also important. So here you can see Narad Muni, the association of the holy man who had visited his place, his village, where he was staying in his previous life, in his previous birth, and he was staying with his mother. Number one is, as we said, as we mentioned, separation. So first example, which is very classical example, is that of Narad Muni. Narad Muni is a previous life, as is mentioned in 1.6 and the first chapter 6th. Uh, you know, Narad Muni, what happened when Narad Muni was there? He was a son of, I mean, his mother. He was staying with his mother, but he served some holy saintly man, and then he, because of the service to them, to the lotus feet of those devotees, saintly people, and taking instructions from them, serving them, taking their instructions from them, and doing devotional service. He uh, he received one day he received darshan of the Lord. But that was, just that the Lord, when the Lord gave the darshan to Narad Muni in his previous birth, that was just to increase his inquisitiveness, that eagerness to achieve his lotus feet fully. So what happened that when Lord disappeared, so losing Lord's form was the first thing which happened to him. He got disturbed and perturbed upon losing the Lord's vision in his meditation. And he was disturbed and aggrieved because of failure to see the form of Lord again. And he, uh, you know, he he was dissatisfied because of failure. And then the Lord, he spoke with gravity and pleasing words to Narad Muni just to pacify him. And on seeing his attempts, pacify him, and to mitigate his grief, that he will be able to see him again. Uh, but after some time, it will take some more time for him to have darshan of the Lord, Narad Muni in his previous birth. And eventually, Narad Muni, he became an eternal associate of the Lord. In fact, he is one of the empowered incarnations of the Lord. So these were the feelings of Narad Muni. And then second example is that of Maharaj Yudhishthir inquiring from Arjuna in the first canto of chapter 14th. Uh, Maharaj Yudhishthir inquired from Arjuna that whether Krishna is enjoying there in the palaces, in the assembly of Dwarka Sudharma, along with his friends, with his queens and his family members. I mean, he was Maharaj Yudhishthir was worried. It so happened that uh, Maharaj Yudhishthir was, after Mahabharat war got over, and Maharaj Yudhishthir was ruling this planet for almost 35, 36 years. And one day, Maharaj Yudhishthir saw bad omens in his dreams, and also, like, he was seeing um, some unhumanful things happening in his kingdom, and in the society, when he saw so many things which were not dharmic, and which was indicative of the impending Kali Yuga, approaching Kali Yuga. So Yudhishthir Maharaj, he sent Arjuna to Dwarka to inquire about Krishna and all the Yaduvanshis. And when Arjuna came back, Yudhishthira Maharaj inquired from Arjuna, because he saw Arjuna was dejected. He was very low, and he was not in his usual Kshatriya mood. So Yudhishthira Maharaj's inquiry was, is Lord Krishna, who is very affectionate towards his devotees, enjoying the pious assembly at Dwarka surrounded by his friends. So this was actually concern of Yudhishthira Maharaj for Krishna. So that showed that how Lord's devotees are actually in the bhav of, uh, sometimes they become like mother for Krishna. Vatsalya bhav comes, arises in their hearts, because they love the Lord so much that for them the Lord is not just, he's, of course, Sri Vigraha form we worship in the temples, but for the Lord, he's, for the devotees, the Lord is a person. And for someone like Yudhishthira Maharaj, whom even Maharaj Yudhishthira, Narad Muni is glorifying, that, Lord Krishna himself is taking care of them, all the Pandavas, and he's staying with them. So we can understand Yudhishthira Maharaj's mental state. And then the indirect inquiries were about Dwarkavasis, Yadus, causes of Arjuna's dejection. He did not ask Arjuna directly about Krishna's disappearance first, although the natural calamities and Narad Muni also had actually given the indication. But it indicated that when Krishna disappeared, it was quite expected that all those omens were supposed to appear. In the presence of Krishna, all those things were not present, because by the Lord's presence, Kali Yuga had not manifested. Kali Yuga, Kali Purush was just waiting to manifest the Kali Yuga. And then, we can see the beautiful depiction, the loving exchanges between Krishna. You can see Krishna and one personality holding mace is Bhima, and then Yudhishthira Maharaj and Arjun and Nakul Sehdev and Draupadi ji and Kunti Maharani. So Krishna is with the Pandav Parivar, Pandav family, and he's taking such most care of them that all these inquiries are quite relevant of Yudhishthira Maharaj. So these are the feelings of separation of Yudhishthira Maharaj. Now we will discuss about Arjuna's response to Yudhishthira's inquiries. How Arjuna is now sharing his feelings of separation from Krishna. Arjuna, who is also known as Krishna, but 10 names, the 10 famous names of Arjuna, and one name is that he is Krishna, because his bodily complexion is also, I like his like of that of Krishna, and he's friend of Krishna. That is why he's known as Krishna. And Arjuna was, he was speechless in the beginning when he inquired. He was speechless, could hardly, due to strong grief caused by separation. Arjuna's mouth had dried up, and his heart was, uh, uh, you know, dried up completely, mouth and heart, and he could hardly reply. He was speechless. He was in such a shock. He was in a state of shock that he was not able to answer any of those inquiries, and he was shedding tears of grief, and with great difficulty checked those tears of grief that smeared his eyes. And then he was overwhelmed, and he was breathing very heavily, and he was remembering Krishna's well wishes, his benefactions, his intimate relations and chariot driving, and how he used to call Krishna, uh, "Oh Yadav, oh Madhava, oh Keshav," and how Krishna, he used to always guide him, he always protected him, and how Krishna gave him guidance at every step of their friendship, how Krishna arranged us for so many uh, activities which further enhance the glories of Pandavas, especially Arjuna, and how Arjuna was blessed by Krishna that he could easily go to heavenly planets. He could achieve all the divine weapons which are supposed to be gifted by the demigods, different demigods, and he could kill all the Kauravas. He could kill so many other demons. He was able to become victorious. He was able to win the hand of Draupadi, another princess. So Arjuna, in his meditation, in the feeling of separation, feelings of separation from Krishna, he was remembering all those pastimes which happened because of Krishna's mercy. And he was powerless. He said, here you can see Arjuna with Krishna with the Pandavas and with other dignitaries of Pandava family. So he was powerless. Hari, my intimate friend, left me alone. My astounding power is no longer with me. I am defeated by infidel coward men, though with the same Gandiva arrows, chariot, and horses. Vanchito aham Maharaja and Tadvai Dhanushta. So he said that this is the same Gandiva which I'm holding, and this is the same quiver of arrows which I'm having. But it has lost the potency. I'm the same Arjuna, I'm the same Shishya, student of Dronacharya, I'm the same archer, but I have been defeated by infidel, uh, coward men. So actually, that was a pastime created by Krishna himself. That Arjuna, when he was trying to bring all the queens of Dwarka from Dwarka to Indraprasth, Hastinapur, so it was Krishna's arrangement. There was one curse which was given by Durvasa Muni, and accordingly, those queens of Dwarka, they were abducted by the infidel coward men, the thugs, the thieves. They were actually creation of Krishna, creations of Krishna, and Arjuna tried to protect the queens, and but he couldn't do that because his Gandiva just melted. In a way, it just melted. It became powerless. His arrows were useless, and he was without any potency. So he's saying that Hari, my intimate friend, left me alone, and because he is no more with me. Krishna is the powerful Balam Balvatam Chaham. So Krishna, who is the who was the source of power for me, is no longer with me, and that is why I was defeated. Panchito Ham Maharaj. And then he said, I'm feeling that void. Separation from him for a minute would render all the universes unfavorable and void like bodies without life. Yes, say Shana Vyogena, as mentioned in the 6th verse and 20th verse, that unfavorable and void like bodies without life, heart becomes void. I mean, when Krishna is not there, so without Govind, Govind Virahane mein, and mercy, then he's remembering the mercy part of Krishna. And his mercy made me cross all the obstacles, as mentioned by me previously. Uh, this is mentioned in the first canto, 15th chapter, that how 7th verse number 7 to 17, how his mercy made him victorious and hero of Mahabharat war, and so many other activities, as I mentioned earlier, that he won the hand of the Draupadi, and he killed so many demons in Swargaloka also, and so many other uh, wonderful superhuman feats which he was able to do. And like he said that especially for winning the hand of Draupadi, that there were so many other kings who would have won the hand of Draupadi, but only by his Krishna's mercy that I was able to uh, aim the eye of that fish, and he was able to achieve the target. And then he was you can see Krishna, Arjuna's, when he's remembering about Krishna's pastimes, his mercy, and how he guided, like Krishna guided Arjuna on the battle of Kurukshetra, and how he was motivated. Like he was Krishna, Arjuna was motivated by Krishna because he received divine knowledge, Rajvidya, king of knowledge, from Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra and the Mahabharat war, and how he fought that war. So this beautiful picture from BBT, a very famous picture, very popular amongst all over the world. So this is symbolic of pure love of Krishna and Arjuna in Sakhya Ras. As such, they are Naranara rishis from the previous incarnation. So Arjuna is remembering all those pastimes, and then what all he was recollecting, collection of the jokings, his frank talks and smiles and addressing him as oh Aparth, oh Arjun, Kunti Nandan, and also tolerating offenses. Like he was able to, he was remembering the smiles and just like uh, Uddhav ji, in third canto, he's remembering Krishna. He's having feelings of separation, and he's saying that the तथैव चान्ये नरलोकवीरया विकृष्णमुखामरविन्दम्. So how he was, how the warriors who were fighting from the Kaurava side in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Mahabharata war, how they were able to focus on the beautiful lotus-like face, flower-like face of Krishna, and when they were being pierced by the arrows of Arjuna, they were getting purified. And upon purification, by just by seeing the smiling face of Krishna, they were able to get, go back home, back to home. And how Krishna tolerated the offenses. And in fact, Arjuna, when he saw Virat Roop in Mahabharata, during just in the beginning of Mahabharata war, he was actually repenting how he was able to, how he was actually in a way insulting Krishna by being so casual with him. He was remembering all those things, all his frank talks, his friendly interactions, his jokes, and then the pacifications. The pacification was that, by absorption in Govind's instruction and lotus feet. So as you can see, he was meditating how Krishna had given him uh, Divya Gyan in the form of Bhagavad Gita. He was trying to remember all those verses, all those instructions given by Krishna to Arjuna, and that was a source of pacification for him. And he was trying to absorb it, and he was meditating on the lotus feet of Govinda. Here you can see how Arjuna, very beautiful classical picture where you can see Arjuna seeing the reflection of the fish, rotating fish which was fixed on the roof of the palace, and he was seeing the reflection in the oil pond, a pond of oil. He was trying to aim that and target the would not to the eye of the fish. And Krishna is taking such interest. In fact, Krishna is just seeing Arjuna, meditating on him, how beautiful he is trying to accomplish that feat. So, and Draupadi ji is waiting in anticipation. And, so this is such a wonderful, once in a lifetime pastime event. And we can understand how Arjuna was actually feeling those pangs of separation. As we say, he was missing Krishna. And then we see the fourth example is of Bhumi in the form of cow, as mentioned in the first canto, 16th chapter. Bhumi says Bhumi Devi was in the form of a cow, in Go Mata Suru form. That calamity, she remembered that she understood that since the Lord had disappeared, she is anticipating some kind of calamity, because when the Lord has already ended his pastimes, it's but obvious that since Dwapar Yuga is over, so Kali Purush is going to enter, Kali Yuga is going to manifest. And it is either the misfortune or fortune, but Lord's lotus feet endowed me with powers to supersede all three planetary systems. I feel fortunate, but now he has left me. So is it a fortune or misfortune? So fortune, misfortune, fortune, because Krishna, Srila Prabhupada mentions that in his purport that actually Krishna is much more merciful even than Lord Ramchandra, because Lord Ramchandra, Krishna, in Vrindavan, he never used slippers. So he was his lotus feet was in direct contact with Mother Earth, Bhumi Devi. So she was remembering that, and that she was endowed with powers to supersede all the three planetary systems. She was blessed. Bhumi Devi was blessed by Krishna's presence. I mean, Krishna was present in a manifested form at least for 125 years, and not in other planetary systems. So she was feeling fortunate, but now since he has left, so that's a misfortune. And in now she was having intolerable separation. Celebration discontinued because uh, uh, I would be immersed in his dust, sumptuously covered with grass, like hair standing on me out of pleasure. Kava Sahita Viraham. So she said that she would be sumptuously covered with grass, like hairs standing on me out of pleasure, just by the touch of the lotus feet of the Lord. Bhumi Devi's, the grass, which actually symbolizes hair on the body of Bhumi Devi, it was, it was the hair, the grass was standing on the earth out of pleasure, out of ecstasy. So just by coming in contact with Krishna, so she was remembering all the time spent by Krishna on earth, on her uh, divine body, and she was feeling fortunate, and that is why she was feeling intolerable separation. Now after that, meeting after separation. Second part is meeting after separation. How citizens of Dwarka, as mentioned in chapter number 11, when Krishna reached Dwarka after the Mahabharata war was over, so how citizens of Dwarka reacted. So, hearing the sound of Lord's conch that threatens fear, personified citizens began to run towards him fast. That was like encouragement to them because Krishna was he was not in Dwarka for many months because of his engagement in in Kurukshetra for this Mahabharata war, and because he wanted to ensure that Pandavas should become victorious, and you know uh, was he wanted to yada yada hi dharma, as that famous shloka is there. So he wanted to establish dharma and annihilate all the Kauravas and establish Pandavas, the righteous Pandavas, especially Yudhishthir Maharaj on the throne of Hastinapur. And so he did that in 18 days, and he gifted the planet Earth to Pandavas. So he was busy with that war, and when the Dwarka was there was a feeling of separation. And now this is so unique that after Krishna arrived, so their period of separation was over. So they got encouraged, and then they ran so fast towards him with presentation, with gifts. And then there was reunion, smiling face with affectionate glances, transcendental auspicious form. Aho Sanath Bhavata. Sanath is when Krishna arrived, they felt as if they have become Sanath. Otherwise, they were feeling like a Nath. You know. So uh, then there was this the the Dwarkavasis, they started saying that mentioning to Krishna that there is unbearable separation. When you go to meet friends and relatives, a moment become million years. Eyes become useless as if bereft of sun, and existence becomes difficult without seeing your smile. So it's like, they were only living because they wanted to see Krishna's beautiful. And then there was jubilation. Expert dramatists, artists, dancers, singers, historians, genealogists, and learned speakers all gave their contributions. They used their skill for Krishna's service. And the Lord's relatives, if when they saw Krishna, uh, when they saw Krishna, like Vasudev, Akrura, Ugrasen, Balaram, were extremely happy. They abandoned the places where they were resting and sitting or dining and whatever they were doing. They just left it, whatever in a top of the hat, and they just hastened towards the Lord, offered their respects with the uh, you know with affection, saturated with affection. Uh, and what about the mothers of the Lord? I mean, Devki and other wives of Sudevji and other ladies who were like mothers of the Lord. Pure affection. Devki ji, out of pure affection, she embraced, sat him on her, her lap, and even other mothers. Milk sprang from their breast. Now, this is so wonderful that all those mothers were of quite advanced age. They were not having any babies, or they were not having lactation, but still, out just because of Krishna's arrangement, they had such intense love for Krishna that their milk started, the breast milk started coming out, springing from the breast, and they were delighted, and their tears, you know, they were, the tears were coming, they were shedding such tears such profusely that that just wetted the Lord. And then they were, you can see the, Devaki and Vasudevji and Krishna approaching them. And here you can see uh, the queens of Dwarka, how they are welcoming Krishna on his arrival in Dwarka. The queens of Lord Krishna in Dwarka, they were rejoiced, and they got up at once from their seats and meditations, covered faces shyly, and looked about coyly. So, you know, when they were embarrassed in a way that were seeing Krishna for their husband. That is Swakiya Ras. Their love was in Swakiya Ras. Their relationship was in Swakiya Ras. And how they were rejoiced. They were trying to check their love and, for Krishna and their husband in public. So they covered faces shyly and looked about quietly. And then they embraced first initially in the innermost recesses of their hearts. Internally, they embraced Krishna. They were not just their wives, but they were also devotees of Krishna. And then visually, through their eyes, and then sent their sons. There were almost 10 sons from every single queen or wife of Krishna. So all the sons to embrace him. There were daughters also. And they shed tears in spite of the restraining. It was not possible for them to embrace Krishna in front of others. They could have done it in private. So they sent their sons as their representative. And they were trying to restrain their tears out of love they were shedding, but they couldn't restrain themselves. And then the third part is anticipating separation. But the most unique example is that of Kunti Devi. Kunti Devi, when in the uh, ninth chapter, first canto of Prayers of Queen Kunti, uh, she was, you know, eighth chapter, and she was meditating. Yeah, eighth chapter. She was meditating on Krishna, and when Krishna was about to leave, she's she actually desired disasters. Now, not most of us won't be desiring